Will the U.S. go to war with NATO?
How bad does Trump really want Greenland? That today, more on the Undercurrent.
Uncle Warren.
That little hanger. You never did. It would, especially some people who've been in radio, when you're just, you're coming out of a song or you're coming out of the break and you got to do your thing, and all of a sudden you're like a cat with a hairball. You're like, it's awful. You're just like, so anyway, sidebar.
Yeah,
I blame the cold. Yeah, although it's only 30 degrees here in Chicago. It was 7 a couple days ago, I think.
I saw that, and we're expecting a big snowstorm down here in Northwest Arkansas this weekend.
Yep. My North Mississippi peeps are probably gonna be like, oh boy, here we go. Because I was talking to my buddy Ed, our buddy Ed. We were discussing how the North deals with icy roads as compared to the South. In the South, at least from my recollection several years ago, couldn't handle snow very well, right? It was, you know, they put down gravel or something like that instead of salt, because they don't have salt trucks. They don't have and road graders. They would use road graders to move the thing, and that would damage roads and stuff like that. So it's like, and then you get up north and it's like, oh yeah, well, everything, we got our little set, all the salts out, and people, it's still kind of a little dicey, but yeah. But the South is just like,
yeah, they don't know what to do down here, and it's they've gotten a little bit better with it, but still the schools close and everybody has hysterics. But we got a lot of good folks checking us out today. We got Jimerson in the house. We got Max Sarte. We got Fingerman, and it's good to see you over on Instagram. We got Pasta. Yeah, so we've got we're getting there. And also want to remind folks, we're now streaming on my YouTube channel, my personal YouTube channel, although I do recommend and do ask that people take the time to subscribe to the Undercurrent YouTube channel so we can build that channel up. We would really appreciate it. I'm going to put in the comments a link to our show notes if you want to subscribe to that, but there's links to all of our socials and all of our wherever we are streaming are in those show notes, so they're out there for you.
Yeah, we're up to 52 subscribers on the Undercurrent channel, which is great. We appreciate all of you who've taken the time to support us there. We've gone also on to adding shorts to the because the videos tend to get hot, so they can't wear pants, so we had to wear shorts. No, but they so if you're a little bite size, and if you want more, then it leads you right to the main show. It's a beautiful thing. I like how those shorts work like that. So appreciate it.
And everybody. Amber, good to see you, Amber. Good to see you out there.
Yes, we're all over the place. We're on YouTube, Rumble, Facebook, Instagram, and a shield instead of a wrench. What? A shield? No, you have a wrench. Are you? He
has a wrench, but
he started drinking early this morning.
So reminder to everybody, if you're checking us out on Instagram, we don't see your comments directly here in StreamYard. We will get to your comments or questions, but if you want us to see them right away, come on over to either Facebook or to YouTube, where you can get it. You can interact directly.
Indeedly do. We have plenty to get to today. We're going to get to the Greenland stuff momentarily, but first we got more Trump news because that's all there is.
That's all there is.
That's all there is. It's Trump doing dumb
house.
stuff.
Willie Bragg's in the house. We're going to be joining Willie next week on his show too.
That's right. Yeah, well, it'll be next Tuesday. I'm not quite sure of the time, but we will be there. And always a fun time with Willie.
Always a fun time.
We
love sleeping with Willie.
He's a good egg. We're sleeping. That poor guy is like, stop it, stop saying it. But it's comedy gold. It's comedy gold. Yeah, this is like, water wet sky blue news, but Trump inflation hit average U.S. family with $1,625 in higher costs last year. That number seems low. I guess that's the average, right? Some got way higher, some managed to skate by under. So a congressional report published yesterday further undercut Trump's claim that he has defeated inflation, estimating that the average American family paid $1,625 in higher costs last year as the president's tariffs and broader policy agenda drove up prices across the nation's economy. Who knew that tariffs would backfire and we'd be the ones paying for it? Who knew? Everybody. I'm guessing. The new analysis by Democrats on the Joint Economic Committee found that the 1,625 total includes 323 more for housing expenses and 241 more for transportation costs. In some states, including Alaska, Connecticut, Massachusetts, and New York, the average family paid more than $2,000 in higher costs last year as prices for groceries, housing, and other necessities continue to rise under Trump's leadership. Senator Maggie Hassan, Democrat out of New Hampshire, the ranking member of the Joint Economic Council's committee, said in a statement that President Trump has imposed reckless tariffs, driven up healthcare costs, and created economic uncertainty. And because of these choices that he made, Americans are paying over $1,600 more than when he came into office. So let's look at the old charts here. And as you can see here, Alabama, their overall cost $1,353, which is saying a lot because Alabama is one of the poorest states in the nation, right next to my place, Mississippi, with $1,260. And then you'll see, you look at Massachusetts, $2,200. Hawaii, I'm not surprised too, because everything's usually expensive in Hawaii anyway. Yeah. Because you have to ship everything over there. They don't have a lot of things that they produce on the islands there that isn't imported. California, of course. Yeah, so the JEC report was released just weeks after Trump falsely proclaimed in a year-end address to the nation that inflation has stopped. Definitely not on his belt line, that's for sure, because he's a big boy. He likes sandwiches. And prices are down. Yeah, both bald-faced lies for sure. CNN fact checker Daniel Dale noted that inflation data released on the morning of Trump's December 17th speech showed that average consumer prices were 2.7% higher in December than they were a year prior and 0.3% higher than they were in November. Yeah, so again, Trump lying about the economy. Are you shocked? I know I am.
I'm so shocked. I don't think I'm going to recover.
It's a lot of money.
I mean,
when you think about, like I said, with those like Alabama, most of the southeastern states, probably except for maybe Georgia and Florida, they can't afford these hits like this.
No.
It's the wages in the South are criminally low compared to other parts of the country. And then when you couple that with inflation, unnecessary inflation too, with these tariffs, you're going to see some resentment, and you're probably going to see some voices being heard at the ballot boxes this November too over it.
Maybe. Because the people who have voted for Trump seem to be willing to endure all kinds of insults and degradation.
And a lot of Trump people, MAGA people too, are on. One other thing we were talking about, Snap, right?
Yeah.
That a lot of Trump people are on Snap too. So I think that's probably going to play into more division into his base, or at least into the Republican Party base that have supported Trump on all these nonsense tariffs, and of course all this other ridiculous stuff that he's been doing as well.
It'd be interesting to see. I'm just curious how many people who receive SNAP benefits also vote.
That would be interesting.
I'm curious. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, who is still hanging on to the illusion that voting in these national elections is actually doing anything for them? I would assume a lot of them have probably just said, you know what, I want no part of this. This is just a waste of my time. Or maybe I don't even have time. I'm working 2 or 3 jobs. I don't even have time to get out and vote too. So it could be voting by not voting in this case, where it's just like they just, instead of voting, because they're not going to vote for the Democrats, that's for sure. So what they'll do is just not vote at all, and that will take away from those vote totals for the Republicans. I think the Republicans are going to get shellacked in the midterms this year. I'm pretty sure that's going to happen because of this nonsense. Money, if you mess with people's money and you mess with people's food, chances are they're not going to vote for you again unless they're under some sort of drugs, hypnotic suggestion, or what have you. What's up, Chuck? Good to see you this morning, brother.
Hello, good to see a CBC voter.
Oh yeah, CBC, what's going on? But fret none, mon frere, because gold's up. Yay! You like gold? Yay! You like shiny baubles and delicious golden treats, golden grams?
I like golden grams. I remember when they came out back in the 70s. They're good.
Still good today, although they probably got all kinds of microplastics in them and stuff. I'm being Debbie Downer over here. Wah, wah. So yeah, gold hits record high. Silver was in the news. Silver and I believe platinum were up too, but gold has surged to a historic high, extending a record rally as investors navigate geopolitical uncertainty and shifting expectations for future interest rate cuts. Gold futures continued their strong rally as the February 2026 contract on COMEX reached a new all-time high yesterday, surpassing the level of $4,720 per troy ounce, up 2.71% according to exchange data. The prices of both gold and silver have soared over the past year, as precious metals are commonly viewed as safe haven assets during periods of market turbulence. Gold rose by more than 60% last year, partly due to concerns about global tensions and economic volatility. Analysts attribute the recent rally to escalating tensions, including the threat by Trump to impose new tariffs on European countries, opposed to his proposed takeover of Greenland, which we will talk about coming up soon. Trump threatened to impose a 10% tariff starting in February on imports from 8 European NATO nations. And remember, kids, the U.S. is part of NATO, so keep that in mind, including Denmark, over their opposition to his bid to acquire Greenland, with plans to raise the tariff to 25% on June 1st if a deal is not reached. So, and gold, too, is it's a valuable resource now in computers, electronics, that sort of thing. So you kind of have a dual thing going on. You have this fear of this uncertainty of the economy, so people are investing in these metals, but then at the same time, these metals are also going up in price because of the demand for it too, as well. So it's, but as I like to say, it's like, okay, let's say we get let's say there's we're in the what is it, the Walking Dead times, right? And we don't have any money or anything like that. Paper money's worthless. Mm-hmm. You're out there in the Badlands, right, with your machete and your machine gun, and you're defending yourself. And somebody comes up to you and says, Laney, I want some water. I'll trade you either gold or food. What are you going to take?
Very likely going to take that food.
Because yeah, you can eat gold, but it ain't tasty, and it'll probably kill you. In in the way that gold can do inside your body, or not. It definitely wouldn't, fulfill your basic needs, and that's the point of all that. It's like gold and silver is all well and good, but it's probably good to maybe do what the preppers do and have yourself a stash of food and stuff that you can actually use instead of trying to invest in gold and silver and stuff like that. Now, that's being very pessimistic on my part, because I'm just assuming that an apocalypse is coming, if not already here.
Yeah.
But I don't think I would, if things were like, okay, we're done with wars, we're done with all this, now we're an enlightened people now we can move on. Yeah, okay, you want to invest in gold or something, yeah, it's probably going to be worth something, but I don't know. You think it's going to keep going up?
I think it possibly could. I mean, at this presidential administration is doing everything it can to keep people on edge. It's got much of the world on edge. Everybody's terribly confused. And we've got people in the US are confused. And we'll go more into that in a little bit. I wouldn't be surprised. But the thing of it is yes, it can keep on going up. And that's going to get real interesting, even more interesting than it already is. But I think that something is going to have to snap at some point. Yeah. And if this nonsense continues, and I'll go more into it when we get into the catch of the day, but if this nonsense continues, I think that Americans are going to be in for a world of hurt, because we haven't done anything to stop it.
Right. I think that's the bottom line too.
Yeah.
Is
and I think
what are we doing to stop it? Yeah.
And
we're not.
And we haven't stopped it. We're not doing it. We're not stopping it. And that the rest of the world is asking, look, you claim to be the free of the home of the free and the brave. It's supposed to be a government of the people, for the people. And yet you have repeatedly shown that you will do nothing.
Yeah.
And I include myself in that. I mean, but we'll talk about this more later. But I do think it will eventually snap. I think that we are going to be in for a world of hurt. And stockpiling food right now is not such a bad idea. Just as a matter of, of course, if you lose your job, unemployment can take weeks to kick in. We saw what happened during the SNAP stall there, and a lot of people were taking food that they had saved and were giving it to food banks so that people could get that food. It's not a bad idea at this point. There are some good deals to be had still. I can talk about that later, but yeah, I would advise stocking up on food right now. I think that the gold prices are going to go up. I think something's going to snap, and then things are going to get really ugly. But I hope I'm wrong.
Yeah, the investing in gold and silver, I know some people think it's a long-term strategy, but it really isn't, because even metals, even at this point, like that, are volatile too. So you may get some short-term gains, yes, and if you do, God love you, go for it. But if you're in it for the long haul and then everything collapses, then I hope that gold is tasty. Because that's all you'll have to eat, I guess. Because nobody's going to trade food for gold when they need food. So we go to Minnesota and check in on what the Department of Justice is not doing. No U.S. justice for Renee Gold. Department of Justice won't probe the ICE shooting. There she is right there. So the U.S. Department of Justice has confirmed it will not pursue a criminal investigation into the fatal January 7th shooting of Renee Good by an ICE agent in Minneapolis. Deputy Attorney General Todd Blanche said Sunday, a stark contrast to the immediate federal probe launched 6 years earlier into the death of George Floyd, also in Minnesota. Good was shot less than a mile from the site of Floyd's murder in May 2020. The incident was captured on at least 5 phone cameras, including one held by Agent Jonathan Ross, who fired the fatal shots. Blanche, a former personal lawyer to Trump, dismissed calls for a criminal investigation during an interview for Fox News, suggesting that publicly available video evidence made an investigation unnecessary. What? Wait, what? You would think that would make it more necessary since you have all this proof? Question mark. Is the FBI conducting an investigation into that agent, into the shooting? Blanche was asked in response to criticism from Minnesota Governor Tim Walz. And Blanche replied, "Look, what happened that day has been reviewed by millions and millions of Americans because it was recorded on phones. The Department of Justice, our civil rights unit, we don't just go out and investigate every time an officer is forced to defend himself against somebody putting his life in danger. We never do." Well, that sounds kind of...
Yeah, that's actually kind of the point. Here's the thing.
Yeah.
It's been established, for one thing, that eyewitness testimony is not very effective. And we know that with video, for example, we have different angles. And people who are not, the millions and millions of Americans may not be trained in ballistics or crime scene investigation or in any of these police principles to look. They don't know what to be looking for.
Right.
And we've also seen people who are perfectly willing to say say one thing, and other people are saying, no, you're wrong. They saw something entirely different. What has happened here is we've just seen another collapse in truth. What people consider what truth is. We have seen an absolute collapse in this.
Well, it's a hypocrisy too.
Yeah, it's hypocrisy. It's a collapse of truth. It's a collapse of wanting due process and an actual investigation into what happened. I would think the federal government would want to know what happened here, but clearly it doesn't.
Well, they've had precedent. I mean, he goes on. He did not explain why this case was treated differently from Floyd's, which prompted a federal criminal probe, nor did he elaborate on his assertion that the video evidence clearly shows the officer acted in self-defense. The video doesn't clearly show that at all, actually. So earlier on Sunday, Kristi Noem, who oversees ICE as head of the Department of Homeland Security, told CBS there was no need for a criminal investigation into the shooting of Renee Good. She argued that the publicly available video was basically the same argument that Blanche made, saying the available video footage clearly shows ICE agent Jonathan Ross was acting in self-defense after being attacked with the car. And the thing was, he wasn't being attacked with the car. She was trying to pull away from him. And he got in front. The video shows that too. She seems to be forgetting that, and said that a standard internal review by the agency would be sufficient. So basically, what they're saying is, we're going to investigate ourselves. And I'm pretty sure we're going to find ourselves innocent.
And where's the Senate in this? Why isn't the Senate calling for public hearings?
Yeah, these are the same people that are supporting people don't understand that Democrats are also, even though they're calling for cuts to the ICE budget, they're not calling for the abolition of ICE. We already have Border Patrol. We do not need ICE. And especially we don't need an unregulated ICE that's going around just killing people willy-nilly like that. You know, it's without any sort of repercussions or at least any kind of investigation. That's, you know, I could understand it if they actually went through the clown steps of, okay, we're going to investigate it. And then they investigate it. And then they say, oh, well, we didn't find anything wrong. They didn't even do that. They're just like,
you know, to quote Crosby, Stills and Nash and Young, we're finally on our own. I mean, they basically just said, yeah, we're not even, they're dropping the pretense at this point, which on one hand, I'm grateful for. So I don't have to pretend, but at the same time, again, I think we're in for a world of hurt because the
Yeah.
things that we believe support civilization and civil society have been eroded. They're not just being eroded; they've been eroded at this point.
Yeah. And
Hey, Steve.
the public's not going to sit back for too much longer. Yes, we are complacent to a certain point, but
Yeah.
you know, you're starting to see the new Black Panther Party out in these areas too with weapons, exercising their Second Amendment rights, and protecting and trying to protect these people from these rogue ICE agents who are just blatantly disregarding the law and are being are being enabled by this government.
Yeah.
Yeah. Speaking of enablers, who we keep enabling Trump to do some dumb stuff
Oh,
all the time, don't we? As we get
we do.
into let's cast our lines. It's the catch of the day. And Trump and Greenland and NATO. What's happening?
All right. First of all, I want to thank my very dear friend, James Harold Broadwell. He lives in Basingstoke, UK, and was kind enough to let us use this as our thumbnail and our image. This is one of his original drawings. He does amazing artwork, and I just love it. I mean, I just think this is really cool.
I like
And
the
I want to thank.
strings. I
Yeah,
don't know if this is intentional, but it looks like those are puppet strings. Am
I
I
believe. Yeah,
correct there?
I
Okay,
think
good.
everything he does is intentional.
Okay.
So
I was just assuming, but you know what assuming does. But yeah. So please, yeah. I just a brief a news update on this story. Trump is currently at Davos now, and he said, of course, he says a lot of things. He said that he's not planning to do any kind of military type of venture to get Greenland, but that could change
yeah.
because it's Trump, right? So please go ahead.
Well, that could change, and again, we see that many of our NATO allies were taking this very seriously and showing up. We had the Canadians, the Dutch, the Danes, all showing up for military exercises on Greenland.
Mhm.
And I am, I'm absolutely mortified. You'll see, my byline today is Lainey Peterson, utterly mortified, and that's pretty much describing how your Auntie Lainey is today. I should have changed that back to Auntie Lainey. Oh well, I do apologize. Yeah, I think that the questions here are what is the end game? What are they trying to accomplish here? And we, one point, and if you want to check out the show notes, we've got some great articles here. I've got a gifted article here from The Economist. It is tearing NATO apart. And if that is what Trump wanted, and we knew that, that was something even during the very first administration, that was something that he probably wanted. And again, if you have a problem with that, if some people have a problem with NATO, they could use diplomacy. They could actually say, look, we don't have the money to do this anymore. Europe needs to stand on its own 2 feet. We've been doing this for a while, whatever. But instead, they're picking, a fight got picked over a country with people.
Yeah. And a lot of ice,
a
lot of glacial ice too.
Yeah,
So
and a lot of ice. And of course, rare minerals, which I think is what I suspect is what a lot of this is about. But again, I think that there are 2 things that are going, or there's several things going on here. But I do think that Trump has people hissing in his ear to get us out of NATO, which again could have been done through appropriate diplomatic channels, or that could have been renegotiated, and instead we've effectively insulted many of our dear allies, and it's gotten worse. And I say this, I have Danish relatives. You'll notice the SEN at the end of my last name, that's Danish.
Mhm.
And I have relatives over there. And I remember when I went to visit Denmark, and this was in the early 90s, we found out this was in June, and we found out that in July there was going to be 4th of July celebrations there. And we were very shocked at this. And we said, "What's all this about?" And they said, well, we do have 4th of July celebrations here because we have so many Danes that immigrated to the US. And they want to honor those who, I'm sorry, I'm getting kind of emotional about this because this is just such a spitting in the face of Denmark. Spitting in the face of Denmark is just outrageous to me. They have been good allies to the US. It's a wonderful country. They brought us Legos, for heaven's sakes, and this is this is what they've done. So, and the rest of the world again has been, I think, been very tolerant of the adolescent country that is the United States, with all of our tantrums and door slams and everything. And there's been good nature there, but that is wearing out. And I think this is probably going to be the last straw. And I think what the effect of all this is going to be is to isolate Americans, US citizens, or people living in the US even more. That we're going to be depending on each other. We're not going to be welcome overseas. And there have already been issues with Americans having to deal with people who don't like Americans and our foreign policy overseas. But I think that's going to contract. We're going to be less welcome. We're going to, be forced to deal with each other, which is not always a bad thing, but we're going to be more isolated from the rest of the world. There's going to be more hostility. Most people don't deal well with rejection and hostility, and Americans will draw more into themselves. And I think during the first Trump administration, there was an emphasis more on isolationism. We don't want war. We're staying out of wars. We're going to focus on ourselves. But this is more isolating the people of the U.S. in this administration because they've gone to the Department of War. They are, they're threatening. Their people are threatening, making bellicose threats everywhere. And so now we're seeing that this is not so much the U.S., which is perfectly happy. Our government is perfectly happy to go in and kidnap presidents from other countries and to say, we want this, this, and this, and this, and we're going to take it. But the people of the U.S. become more isolated.
Yeah.
And that is a problem. The other thing is, however, is we're moving into this issue with the rare earth minerals. And there's a fascinating article that I found on the National Interest, nationalinterest.org. Again, they're in the show notes. And if you guys aren't checking out the show notes, please do, because we do provide articles to everything, all of our sources to you. I'm going to put this right now in the comments for you to check it out. But this article in the National Interest pointed out that right now China has the U.S. over the barrel when it comes to the rare earth minerals. And one of the things that had happened is in December, the administration was going to put a ban on many Chinese electronics, including Chinese drones, and had basically told the FCC, the FCC, Federal Communications Commission, to write up the regulations to restrict a lot of Chinese drones. Just for what it's worth, the FCC has a lot of power over drones because drones are operated by radio, and radio is under the FCC's purview. That's been kind of retracted at this point and has kind of backed off of that, very likely because Trump and his advisors have realized that the Chinese really have those rare earth minerals that are needed. And the argument that this article makes is that banning the Chinese drones is probably a good idea because of the risk of poison pills in Chinese electronics that could be used for surveillance. But at this time, we can't really compete on that, and we've got to figure something else out. And that, again, is the push for getting Greenland. there's obvious problems with all of this, as people have noted. Um, Denmark, we historically have very good relationships with Denmark. They're a NATO ally. The U.S. has the right to put up more military bases there. So there's no real reason for this. But the other thing is this: Trump is just saying the quiet part out loud. The U.S. wants something, or he wants something, and he wants to take it. And he just as colonizers throughout the course of history, and colonizers, by the way, are not simply Europeans. Colonizers have become have been different people at different times, are saying, we want something, we are going to take it, and you can't stop it. Or if you do try to stop us, we're going to make this very painful. And it is troubling to see that attitude. Although, again, we don't have to pretend it's not there anymore. We can see it's right there, and we can go after it. Now, here's another part of this that does really concern me. It kind of comes back to the isolation of the American people. Most Americans, I think, at this point, do not want conflict with Denmark. We're taking this very, very seriously, whether people voted for Trump or not, whether they're conservative or not. How is it going to look when popular opinion overwhelms the Trump administration in defense of Denmark, but that didn't happen, say, in the Middle East or Gaza or Venezuela? What's the difference there, Uncle Warren?
I think I might have a visual here. With Greenland's rare earths, they've never had commercial rare earth production. Right. So this is an untapped realm for these rare earths. Like if you see the graphic here, and this is from Visual Capitalist, Greenland has 1.5 million metric tons of rare earths in reserve. That's untapped. As you can see over here, they have no mine production whatsoever. And so I think Trump is looking at this as like, oh, look, this is we can bypass China, or at least we can compete with China with this with these reserves, and but it just seems so very short-sighted, to where they don't understand the why going to war with Denmark sounds ridiculous. I often point to the movie Canadian Bacon, right, with John Candy, and I think Alan Alda. Alan Alda's the president, and they tell the president, you have to go to war with Canada, and he's like, what? Yeah, you have to go to war with Canada, right? And it's the same thing.
Did that too.
Yeah, South Park did that too. Yeah, blame Canada. And it's just so far-fetched. But then when you see the underlying reason, it's like, there's other things to consider too, like NATO too. Denmark is a NATO, and they have Article 5. You attack a NATO member, everybody jumps in.
And then we have to attack ourselves. But the U.S. is going to have to attack itself. But there is that. And yes, this is absolutely critical. And I think that this is essential. But what I'm also trying to get at here is, if American opinion and Americans say, oh, hell no, you're not laying hands on Denmark. Oh, hell no, we're not going to war with NATO. But we can dilly-dally and have no problem, and can say, well, or not really do anything when we meddle in Libya or Syria or Gaza, or again, kidnap presidents in the dead of night out of Latin America. And that's, what's the difference between the people in those countries and the people of Denmark?
And
if this succeeds, and I hope that popular opinion squelches this, but it's going to be very obvious to everybody what the difference was. And yes, you Americans will do something if it means protecting your white ancestors, your European cousins. It's going to make it even worse. We're in it
Well,
now. We are in it. This is a predicament. A predicament. Okay, a problem is something you can solve. A predicament is something you cannot solve. You can only adapt to. And I have a feeling that this is going to, no matter what happens, if the U.S. Administration bows to the demand of the American people, do not mess with Denmark. Do not continue to insult our European cousins. Everybody's going to know what the difference was.
Well, you can parallel that with the situation with the war with Russia and Ukraine, right? Everybody's the people who are so concerned about immigration and these people coming in, they're taking our gerbs, that kind of thing. But when the Ukrainians came over here, hey, that seems to be okay for some reason too, right? It's the motivations of the United States people when they're not shaped by the propaganda that we've been steeped in for decades and decades. You have the people who just pop out and say, hey, look, what are we doing here? And these voices are often stifled because it goes against the narrative of, oh, we need Greenland or to survive or to keep being a powerful nation. And it's like, yeah, maybe you do, but if you have to go to those ends to do that, what kind of a country are you in the first place, right?
What kind of a country are we? Indeed.
Yeah.
By the way, if you checked out the memes from the Greenlanders imitating the fentanyl addicts here in the U.S.
Oh, no.
Oh gosh, you guys see, they're all doing these memes of all these people. We're Americans. Like that. They're good. It's awesome. I love these people.
The shit talk of Greenland is très magnifique. Yeah, and they have every right to Freudian slip, sorry. Every right to do that too, because I think they think this is just as ridiculous as people in the United States with common sense think it is, Ooh, excuse me. But yeah, and like I said, he's at Davos now, and I think he's dialed down the rhetoric a little bit, said he wasn't going to take military action against Greenland, but I don't know how else he still wants Greenland. I don't know how else
he's fixated on it now. The funny thing, if you see the thumbnail for this, we see Trump, he's riding on the torpedo, and you've got the little red tip over there, and then you see his tie with its little red tip flying back. He's sticking his dick in both directions at once, because he wants everything.
Mm-hmm.
Which was one of the genius of that little art piece that I shared. And again, I thank my friend very much for that. Anybody who follows me on Facebook wants an introduction to him, let me know. He occasionally puts up his artwork. He's fantastic. He's stuck. I'd say he's stuck his foot in it, but he's sticking everything else into it right now. And I will have more updates next week, particularly after Davos. It's very disturbing, but if anything, it is revealing a whole lot. I think from Yanina, Professor Black did a video on how this is showing the division in white society. I wouldn't be surprised. This situation with ICE, the situation with Greenland, yes, it is showing massive divisions there, and that's something we can maybe get into at another time. But a lot's being revealed right now, and if there's one bright spot, one silver lining, is I think it's really that the U.S. is really showing its ass right now.
Mm-hmm.
And this way we don't have to cover it up all the time.
And maybe that's a good thing at this point. It's just finally, there's been all this subtle, covert actions that the United States has taken in other parts of the world. A lot of people said, well, one of the things I've heard someone say that I think is true is that we're doing the same things we've been doing. We just took the mask off, and we're like you said, we're showing our whole ass right now instead of doing it nicely and putting on a pretty face like Obama gave us or Clinton gave us, right? Because everybody is the Democrats and Republicans are both equally at fault to letting this kind of thing happen. And I'm not so sure that, I mean, Greenland doesn't sound like something that he came up with. It sounds like something one of his cronies around him said, hey,
I don't even know that he knows where Greenland is.
No.
What does he know about rare earth metals? I mean, I don't think there's somebody, he's got people hissing in his ear right and left, which is probably why, his intentions are going in different directions. I don't think he's well. And again, this is another indicator of just the collapse of the US. The Dems allowed Biden to remain in office and took things to the very last minute when they couldn't keep injecting him with drugs to make him seem lucid and not long enough. And the Republicans have been allowing this to happen with their candidate. We've got these very unwell people, in the executive office, and they've got people around them of very poor intention hissing in their ear.
Yes, just to be clear, Stephen Miller is a penis with a face. So, and it's like these Stephen Miller types, right? And then you have, what's the name? Rosenblatt, I think it's Rosenblatt from the ADL. That's and of course the influence from Israel. He's being influenced all over the place, and of course the big money interests as well. So he's being pulled like saltwater taffy, and what he's doing is he's like a dog. A dog will hear a word that he doesn't like and won't respond to it, but if he hears treat or something like that, he'll turn his head. So that I think these people around him are telling him things he wants to hear in order for them to get their own agendas into play too. It's not cut and dry. I don't think this is all him, but at the same time, I'm not cutting him any slack. Obviously, he's the president. Fish rots from the head down. So,
well, it's also, I think, serving to keep people confused, perplexed, upset, and stressed. That makes it very difficult for people to think clearly, and to act appropriately. And and this is all good old-fashioned pro wrestling standard. You just jerk people around, get them all mixed up, and then they will behave emotionally. And I also think that it is going to further isolate the American people from the rest of the world at this time. We'll be seeing what happens.
Yeah, I mean, division is part of it. That's how you control people. And I'm getting word that Trump doesn't actually want Greenland now because he found out it's not green, that it's all ice, and he's wondering why Iceland is called Iceland, because there's green stuff there, and he's confused. And I think he's taking some pills right now.
I thought that Trump liked ice.
Yeah, he does. That's what he wants. That's why he wants Greenland, because he wants to take all of Greenland's ice and bring it over here, so we'll have more ice to terrorize people in his own country. It's funny how that works out. Well, speaking of terrorists, turns out during these protests in Iran, seems like some agent provocateurs. What? Let's go to the recurring tide and discuss this real quick. This is this is from Press TV. Over 470 terrorists, riot ringleaders captured in multiple Iranian provinces. Shocking, I know, right? In these color revolutions, the CIA is always lurking around, and there's always just like, the funding of opposition groups, that wouldn't necessarily have any power unless they were backed by foreign countries like the United States. But Iranian security and intelligence forces have captured more than 470 individuals in 3 provinces identified as key figures behind the recent wave of violent unrest and terrorist activities linked to foreign-backed networks. The Intelligence Ministry's provincial office in Khorasan Razavi announced on Monday the arrest of 192 armed terrorists identified as the main agents behind recent riots in the region. According to an official statement, the detainees were involved in the killing of several security personnel and civilians, setting fire to mosques, public service facilities, and buses, as well as attacks on military and law enforcement centers. The seized items from the group, and we told you about this last week, were a lot of American weapons as well, but some of the seized items for the group included several bulletproof vests, Kalashnikov rifles, hunting weapons, Winchester rifles, and various cold weapons such as daggers, swords, brass knuckles. Wow, that's old school. Tactical knives, crossbows, and chains. Evidence indicates that some of the individuals were tied to hostile movements and terrorist organizations with links overseas. Others were identified as members of violent criminal gangs, actively taking part in the unrest alongside their associates. So, yes, surprise, surprise, people meddling in other people's protests. And I'm sure these protests started off legit, but then it just kind of spiraled out of control.
It's kind of like that with any organization, any movement, any protest, and
it happens here.
It happens here all the time.
During the George Floyd protest, the Black Lives Matter was out there, and you had people who were wearing masks, and they were breaking windows and setting fires and stuff. And there, you heard the stories of pallets of bricks being left out at certain areas so that people could grab them and do that. And that's how you delegitimize a movement by these people. These people will do that. They will say, look at this. They don't want peace. They're all violent. They just want to destroy your business. They want to destroy your capitalism. Wink, 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 wink.
And then you had all the glowies cosplaying as white supremacists. They had all these neo-Nazi groups with their faces covered naturally were marching around. But everybody noticed, hey, these guys are all really physically fit. Now, when it comes down to it, how many KKK people do you know that are walking around in peak physical condition?
I've seen a lot of movies where they're kind of chunky.
I've seen a lot of the actual KKK members, and there are a bunch of
Well, that's the thing, and that you can't have legitimate protest in a country where the government is providing division through actions like this, right? But that's the thing. It's like, that's why the video on our phones is so important, that you capture everything on video to show what's actually happening. And they have caught a couple times. They've caught some agent provocateurs doing some shenanigans during some of these protests. And again, it goes back to what's going on with Greenland. It's all about division. It's all about keeping us divided so that we can't come together and do real protests. Now, I'm not talking about these Saturday parades. I'm talking about actual shut it down protests. That's what they're scared of. So they're trying to keep us divided as much as possible. And that's another way they're doing that in Iran. They're trying to keep legitimate voices, because no country is perfect, right? We can't say, well, Iran is just a victim of foreign policy. Well, they are, but they have their own problems too, and the people there have the right to protest their government based on those grounds. But when you got foreign intervention coming in and stirring things up and making things violent and actually killing people, again, it's just to muddy the waters. So. And speaking of Iran, so fears Iran's internet shutdown could lead to extreme digital isolation.
Talk about isolation.
Iran in 10 days into one of the most extreme internet shutdowns in history, when 92 million citizens cut off from all internet services and even disruption to phone and text messaging. The Iranian government cut off services on January 8th, apparently to stifle dissent and prevent international scrutiny of a government crackdown on protesters, among other things. I'm also I would also assume that they're trying to, whether it's right or not, trying to keep the Western propaganda out of their business as well. But there may be better ways to do that than cut off the internet. Iranian Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi said the internet was cut off in response to what he described as an externally directed terrorist operations. The government has not said when internet services will return, but new reports suggest that behind the scenes, the authorities may be making plans to restrict it permanently. On January 15th, the news website Iran Wire reported that government spokesperson Fatima Mohajerani told journalists that international web access will not be available until at least the Iranian New Year in late March. Internet freedom observers at FilterWatch believe the government is hastily implementing new systems and rules to cut Iran off from the international internet. This is from the BBC, I believe. Yeah. So while the BBC cannot independently verify this report or the timing of its implementation, journalists who spoke to BBC Persian also said they were told that internet access would not be restored anytime soon. So, yes, this is, as the British say, a sticky wicket, right?
Yeah, it is. And the other thing is that Starlink, I mean, Elon Musk is saying, oh, yes, you can all link up to Starlink. And there's talk about Iran now getting into a basically a communications war with Musk and Starlink. This is, look, I can understand, as you pointed out, not wanting Western meddling in the country, but this is when you close things off to the press in this way, it doesn't look good. It causes great distress for the people, and those who have legitimate grievances are not getting information in and out. And now you've got Musk sticking his fingers into this mess, and it's one of those things that we recently, for example, had a Verizon outage here in the U.S. And of course, the conspiracy theorists were all over this and saying, aha, you see, they're doing it to us. And it is extremely disturbing to see how dependent we've become on internet access for our news and information. And I can only go back and say what I was talking about last week is I would advise everybody at this time, particularly at a time of instability, where we are extremely dependent on the internet, which is controlled primarily in the US by private entities or various cell phone services, or Starlink, which is controlled by a lunatic, as far as I'm concerned, that there are ways of staying in touch with the media, but it's going to require making a couple of changes. One is getting yourself a radio, preferably getting a long-range antenna for a radio, particularly if you're living in a rural area. Shortwave can be interesting, but it's not, I don't think it's quite as important at this time, but getting yourself a good antenna and a good radio. Also, getting yourself a digital over-the-air antenna for your television. These things can bring in stations from all over. It's free. It's something that, it's not easily trackable. You hook it up to your television. They can go anywhere. They can be, I think we were saying they could be as low in the 20s. Some of them will get in the 30s or in the 50s, but they are not expensive. You can get them from Walmart, through Amazon. Any little electronic stores will have those over-the-air antennas. The reception tends to be great, and you can get a whole lot of television. So again, you don't want to be over-dependent at this time on things that are under the control of private entities like the internet, even satellite connections or cable companies. Get those over-the-air antennas. Use them with your actual TV set or your actual radio at this time. Just have them. They're good for emergencies, but right now things are just too unstable. And I think I'm wondering what people in Iran are doing right now. Do they have amateur radio setups? Are they using their radios? Are they using shortwave? These are interesting questions.
No, and I'm not hearing anything about press limitations there, just only
I
the
have it.
internet. Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if there was some press limitations too there. And like I said, I'm not Iranian. I don't live there. I don't know
Yeah.
I can't speak for what the people are doing. All I can do is look to history and see that Iran has had meddling from the West back in the 50s when they had a democratically elected leader, and then he was couped, and then they brought in the Shah of Iran, who turned out to be a murderous dictator. And of course, after that, you had the 79 revolution, and where the Shah of Iran, and it became more of this religious kind of control over the people, which it's kind of going from one extreme to another, but still I think the poor Iranian people themselves, I'm not talking about the government, I'm talking about the people themselves, them and their families in the past have gone through hell, basically, not and not being able to identify who they are as a people because of these extreme governments that they've had one way or another. So
it's the interference, as you pointed out. I just want to say one more thing. I did see an interview with a BBC Persian journalist over the weekend on the BBC. Now, obviously, the BBC has its own agenda, it's state media, and the UK played a role in much of that interference. But this gentleman was from Iran. He did talk about how the Iranian journalists who are working outside of Iran, their families, for example, are frequently targeted by the Iranian government. He was very emotional about it. It's one of those situations. It's a predicament. It's not easily gotten out of. I don't like the idea of family members, particularly being targeted for somebody doing their job outside the country. This is happening there, but again, it happens here too. There was a lady. It was in Florida, where she had posted something on social media about
Trump, I put that in
the sheriff showed up.
We're going to get to that shortly.
Sorry about that.
No, it's a nice tease that we're going to get to. It's in the press pool. It's like you always say, there's nothing black and white. There's just many different shades of gray when it comes to that. And it helps to be on the ground yourself there, but we can't all be going to Iran and finding out for ourselves. So I just hope that the people there can finally find some peace at some point. And I think that's all the people want there is the citizens. They want peace. We want peace here too. As we're dealing with the Gestapo ICE, coalition urges Congress to block all funding for ICE surveillance panopticon. I went to Panopticon a few years ago. It's really cool. You get like shirts and stuff. A broad coalition of organizations is calling on Congress to block funding for the mass surveillance programs being used by federal immigration enforcement officials. ICE baby. In a letter sent to members of Congress, the groups decry ICE agents for leveraging a multi-billion-dollar budget to terrorize our communities and build a surveillance panopticon with no accountability from elected officials. The letter singles out several mass surveillance projects being carried out under the U.S. Department of Homeland Security that it says are worthy of defunding, including building databases of biometric sensitive personal data and daily movements of not only immigrants, but everybody in the U.S. Didn't see that coming, right? They did, because they had surveillance. Purchasing technology to surveil all the phones in a neighborhood without a warrant, and recklessly relying on facial recognition technology that is banned in some states, and misusing that data to intimidate protesters and witnesses. The groups call on Congress to completely defund ICE, or if that is not politically feasible, I like that, politically feasible, to severely restrict what ICE can spend money on, including a complete moratorium on the purchase and use of surveillance tech such as facial recognition and license plate readers. Signatories of the letter include the Yale Privacy Lab, I didn't know they had a privacy lab. Digital rights organization Fight for the Future and several local chapters of progressive political organizing groups, Indivisible. ICE's big investments in surveillance technology were documented in an Electronic Frontier Foundation report published earlier this month, which found ICE is going on a shopping spree, creating one of the largest, most comprehensive domestic surveillance machines in history. I'm old enough to remember when, what's his name? The clapper, clap on, clap off, the clapper testified to Congress. Well, we're not surveilling. This was under Obama. We're not surveilling people, not us. It was those other kids. It wasn't us. And then it turned out that was bullshit. So the EFF report highlighted the role played by Celebrite, a company that helps ICE unlock protesters' phones. Look at that, unlock protesters' phones and take a complete image of all the data on the phone, including apps, location history, photos, notes, call records, text messages, and even Signal and WhatsApp messages. This is particularly important, the report noted, because the number of phones searched by ICE and other agencies has been steadily increasing, hitting a record high last year. ICE also has a contract with Paragon, the company behind the spyware Graphite, that is able to harvest messages from multiple different encrypted chat apps, such as Signal and WhatsApp, without the user ever knowing. 1984, Laney. We're here. 42 years late, but we're here. And you know, like I said, well, the Facebook story coming up, that's another layer of that as well. But that's the thing. It's like now, and I thought I heard Christy Nome say the other day that people should have their identification on them. They should be able to prove they are U.S. citizens without any like probable cause as to like, it could be anybody, right? That they say, you know, papers, please. As
and people, we don't carry, U.S. citizens do not carry proof of citizenship on us.
Right.
We simply don't. I mean, we have a driver's license or a state ID, but that is not proof. And nobody wants to be carrying their passport around all the time. And a birth
or their birth certificate.
Yeah, none of that belong to anybody. You know, again, so this, of course, I have a strange feeling, Uncle Warren, going back to it. Who are the people who are most likely to be targeted by this? I don't think they look like us. But here's the thing, Uncle Warren, there are a lot of people in the U.S. right now who look and sound just like us who are not citizens.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And they're not, they all don't have foreign sounding names either. This is just another excuse to terrorize and scare and divide U.S. citizens by spying on them and you know, are you saying anything bad against the government? Yo, I know, you got First Amendment rights, but do you really have First Amendment rights? And that's why, you know, like I said, there's these groups now who are flexing their Second Amendment rights in response to all this nonsense. And they should be looking at the First Amendment too, as well as keeping that sacred as far as the Constitution is concerned. Because if you're not allowed free speech, that's it. That's game over. We might as well be one of these authoritarian countries that you hear all this bad stuff about, because we are that country now. We're that country now. It's not we're going to be, we are. And it's just going to get worse.
And if you can get picked up because you can't prove your citizenship, you know, not because you've been asked to bring some papers to a government office, but because you're walking down the street or driving down the road, and anybody can say you're not a citizen, or you can't prove that you're a citizen, we're taking you, and they can detain you. You can lose your job, your kids, your home, whatever in that process. They could dump you in a foreign country someplace, and then somebody's got to try and get you back. Maybe you'll get back if you survive that kind of treatment.
Max has a good point here, is that's where they get you real ID fingerprint, and you cannot fly unless you have it. right? I mean, that's
Yeah.
that they're not doing all this all out at once stuff. They're doing this incremental sneak up
Yeah.
on you kind of stuff with this the real ID to vote. I have a bit of a problem with that because that's not because people shouldn't be identified, I guess, to prove that who they are when they go to vote, which really shouldn't matter either. But is the fact that it's a poll tax, right? If you have to
Yeah.
pay for an ID to vote,
Mhm.
that's a poll tax. You should never have to pay for anything to vote. That's
You shouldn't
that's
be having
that's just
you shouldn't have to pay for a state ID.
yeah,
I mean, you
yeah,
really shouldn't. You're a
no,
resident of that state. You're paying taxes, you're contributing to the economy or not, but you're there. You are a resident of that state. Why the hell are you paying for this? Why are you paying for a passport?
yeah. You shouldn't have to, but here we are,
Here we
and
are.
this well, we have to have that revenue. It's like, well, okay, well, you can get that revenue somewhere else, but making people pay for identification is just ridiculous. Um, and and a lot of people that come to this country have to worry about that stuff too. Even the naturalized citizens
Yeah.
that who are like, yeah, you're supposed to be what happened under Obama. Um, and this was all done quietly because Obama deported more people than anybody. Uh, they wouldn't have these Goombas out in the neighborhood scaring the hell out of people. They would go quietly to go pick these people up and then deport them. I'm not saying that was right. I'm just saying that's a different tactic that they used.
Yeah.
And for whatever ends or means or reasons that they did that, I'm not quite clear, but I'm damn sure clear why they're doing things the way they're doing it now. It's to scare the hell out of people, because
Yeah.
scared people are easy to control, especially when you hit them with the stick and then you're like, oh, look at the carrot, here's the carrot, and you're like, okay, you know. uh Speaking of food and foreigners, you like that king of Segway kind of shit?
I
The
love
Trump
your segues, Uncle Warren.
my segues. I often slip and fall on my segues too because I have no balance. See, you're like George W. Bush or H.W. Bush. Remember he got on the Segway and he fell down? That's so stupid.
Oh
Uh,
Lord.
Trump administration orders USDA employees to investigate foreign researchers they work with. And foreigners. Yeah. So the Trump administration is directing employees at the U.S. Department of Agriculture to investigate foreign scientists who collaborate with the agency on research papers for evidence of subversive or criminal activity. Right? This sounds very McCarthyist, doesn't it?
There are
Uh,
so many problems with this, Uncle Warren. There are so many problems with this.
The new directive, part of a broader effort to increase scrutiny of research done with foreign partners, asks workers in the agency's research arm to use Google to check the backgrounds of all foreign nationals collaborating with its scientists. The names of flagged scientists are being sent to national security experts at the agency, according to records reviewed by this outlet, ProPublica. At a meeting last month, USDA supervisors pushed back against the instructions, with one calling it dystopic. Welcome to the party, pal. And others expressing shock and confusion, according to an audio recording reviewed by ProPublica. The USDA frequently collaborates with scientists based at universities in the U.S. and abroad. Some agency workers told ProPublica they were uncomfortable with the new requirement because they felt it could put those scientists in the crosshairs of the administration. Students and postdocs are particularly vulnerable, as many are in the U.S. on temporary visas and green cards, according to the employees. Jennifer Jones, director for the Center for Science and Democracy at the Union of Concerned Scientists, called the directive a throwback to McCarthyism that could encourage scientists to avoid working with the best and brightest researchers from around the world. Asking scientists to spy on and report on their fellow co-authors is a classic hallmark of authoritarianism, Jones said. The Union of Concerned Scientists is an organization that advocates for scientific integrity.
Imagine that.
So the
Scientific
new
integrity. Integrity. Whatever happened to that,
integrity.
Uncle Warren? Yeah.
Integrity, that sounds like some made up word. I don't know, integrity, is that like some sort of acid indigestion stuff you take and stuff? The new policy applies to pending scientific publications co-authored by employees in the USDA's Ag Research Service, which conducts research on crop yields, invasive species, plant genetics, and other agricultural issues. The USDA instructed employees to stop agency researchers from collaborating on or publishing papers with scientists from countries of concern, including the greatest hits: China, Cuba, Iran, North Korea, Russia, and Venezuela. But the agency is also vetting scientists from nations not considered countries of concern before deciding whether USDA researchers can publish papers with them. Employees are including the names of foreign co-authors from nations such as Canada and Germany on lists shared with the Department of Office of Homeland Security. There you go. According to records reviewed by this outlet. That office leads the USDA's security initiatives and includes a division that works with federal intelligence agency. The records don't say what the office plans to do with the list of the names. Spy on your fellow scientists, Laney. Otherwise, you ain't Merca.
Again, this plan of isolationism has nothing to do with the U.S. capital, the U.S. government, U.S. influence, U.S. war machine. It has everything to do with isolating the American people, the United States, people of the United States. Nobody's going to want to work with a U.S. scientist if they think that U.S. scientist is spying on them. Nobody trusts or likes spies. So, the U.S. Department of Agriculture, among other things, is the department that administers SNAP benefits. It's an agricultural program. And so this, and they're taking the resources of this department and putting it towards this nonsense spying, which is not what the people who are working there are trained to do or want to do, or even competent to do. Do you really want citizen spies who know nothing of tradecraft? What the heck? And okay, and then so all these resources are going into that. We have the Department of Agriculture, which is also involved with trying to get broadband internet to rural areas. They issue mortgages to people so that people can continue to live in rural areas. There's many programs that this department has, and they're being asked, their scientists, their people are being asked to spy on colleagues from around the world. And again, why should if you have a brilliant scientist, someone who's doing good work, why should their nationality have anything to do with whether you can collaborate with them? Isn't science supposed to be above national borders or priorities? Don't we all want the best for everybody, which means that we have to respect the scientific community, the scientific process? Am I shouting into a void here or what? This is extremely disturbing. It's a waste of time. It's a waste of money. And also the Department of Agriculture, they are very involved with food science, keep making sure that food is fresh and not contaminated. They help to create dietary guidelines. They're involved with things that so-called Make America Healthy Again is concerned with. And here they are, they might, the possibility of being distracted by being turned into spies.
Well, and you think about the long-term effects of this too. Think about what's going on in the United States right now, how the emphasis on education is just being eroded left and right. And you couple that with rejecting or possibly screening out brilliant minds that want to come here. They want to come here, and because they know they could do good things here that they probably can't. They have more resources or whatever here than they do in their own home countries, or at least better, bigger opportunities to do that. And if they're already scared of coming here now because of ICE, right? Yeah, and you know, even people who are here who are naturalized citizens are worried about that. Now think of how you're not going to have any external minds coming to, or very few coming to the United States. And what does that do to scientific knowledge and the quest for scientific knowledge?
Yeah.
Right? It delegitimizes it because we're so isolated, and we're depending on our own not as informed or not as educated people because of our eroded education system. So now you have the idiocracy scientists.
Yeah.
That's what you get after all that. And then they can say science is whatever they want. It's just a snowball thing that down the line, it's just going to be, you know, catastrophic for science in general.
Science is collaborative, and this is working against it.
Mm-hmm. It also just sounds like they're trying to hide some scientific stuff too, but I'm always paranoid about that.
Could very well. And how do we know? Here's the problem: we don't know. So you either become paranoid or oblivious.
Right. And there's been
not
so
a good
much
place for anybody to be.
There's been so much science suppressed that could help not just the Americans but the world.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of that is done on purpose. And like I said, to what end, I'm not sure. Maybe they want to make America stupid again. Or keep America stupid. I have no clue. Well, speaking of stupid, we go to Florida. I should just end it right there, right?
You should just end it right there. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Let's dive in the press pool. And this was what we were talking about earlier, or that you had alluded to. So offensive to the First Amendment, free speech group blasts Miami Beach PD. So Miami, FLA, right? A prominent free speech organization sent a letter to the Miami Beach Police Department on Friday, slamming its decision to send officers to the home of a resident who criticized Mayor Stephen Minor on Facebook. The Foundation for Individual Rights and Expression, a nonprofit more widely known as FAR, called the move an egregious abuse of power that chills the exercise of First Amendment rights and undermines public confidence in the department's commitment to respecting civil liberties and the U.S. Constitution. It's funny how people will invoke the Constitution when it comes to the Second Amendment, but when it comes to the First Amendment, oh, no bad damn. On Monday, 2 Miami Beach police detectives paid Raquel Pacheco a visit to ask about a critical comment that had been left under one of Minor's Facebook posts. Video taken by Pacheco showed officers warning her that her comment, in which she said that Minor consistently calls for the death of all Palestinians, could potentially incite somebody to do something radical. I don't know, maybe calling for the death of all Palestinians, that's kind of insightful in and of itself, but I digress. Police said the interaction did not trigger a formal investigation. Nonetheless, it has made national news and prompted swift backlash, including from Pacheco, who retained a civil rights attorney. In the letter, FIRE's Director of Public Advocacy, Aaron Terr, urged Miami Beach Police to publicly affirm that the First Amendment protects Pacheco's post and commit that going forward, officers will never initiate contact with individuals for the purpose of discouraging lawful expression. I don't have the video here, but basically these two officers came to this lady's house. They asked her if she had made this comment on the post, which, like you said, she was but consistently calls for the death of all Palestinians, which is not an insightful statement in and of itself. She politely declined. She said, "I don't want to answer these questions without a lawyer present." Eventually they left. And
this is intimidation.
Yeah, that's the thing.
It's intimidation.
The cops were really nice, but in a nice, intimidating way, if you know what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Yeah. Let's see. So the purpose of their visit was not to investigate a crime because there's no crime. It had no purpose other than to pressure Pacheco to cease engaging in protected political expression over concern about how others might react to it. This blatant overreach is offensive to the First Amendment. The letter was addressed to Police Chief Wayne Jones, who defended the officer's action in a statement Friday in which he said his department is committed to safeguarding residents and visitors while also respecting constitutional rights. Yet, no, but you're not respecting constitutional rights when you're asking somebody about,
and when you're showing up at their house.
Right. You're not, this, it's
don't
not like
show
this
up at their house. If the cops show up at my house, I'm upset. I don't care if they're there to sell to give me their annual Christmas calendar. It's, you know, I don't, if I see somebody with a gun and a badge showing up at my place, I'm going to assume that something bad has happened or is about to happen.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, and I understand there are legitimate reasons for that to happen. You know, if there's a crime that's been committed, whatever the case may be, but this had nothing to do with public safety and everything to do with intimidation. And this should never, ever happen. Policing, having a local constabulary only works when there is the utmost respect for the people who live in that community, including the fact and the knowledge on the part of the person with the badge and the gun that they have an inordinate amount of power in any interaction, and they need to be very mindful with how they use it.
James Lee had a video about this recently, and he also showed clips of Jewish residents who were complaining about Minor, and because Minor is a very, very big supporter of Israel. I can't remember if he himself is Jewish or not. That doesn't really matter at this point.
It doesn't matter.
The fact that he supports Israel to the point where he's sending out his goons to quash people's to intimidate people into not speaking out. And this is probably going to have the Streisand effect, where it's just going to reverse, and people are just going to now, more and more people, since this has gone viral, since this has gone nationwide, more and more people are going to speak out even more. So what's going to happen are more police departments going to send out their cops to to ask people questions, as they say. You know, they're going to butt heads.
And my friend Andrew here from the UK, the visit from the cops about a social media post is the state of the UK these days. That is absolutely the case. If you post something the government doesn't like, you can and will and be arrested and charged for it. Yes, I'm aware of that. I've been following that. It's very disturbing to seeing that happen in countries that supposedly support freedom of expression. And again, it's very damaging, and it erodes trust between the civilians and law enforcement, which is bad for both sides, both groups, and for communities in general.
Right. And I speak to my conservative friends who are always talking about the Second Amendment. You need to be talking about the First Amendment too. Otherwise, you're just talking out your ass. You can't cherry pick the Constitution. You can't just pick what you think is right and say the rest is not, or at least say the rest is not as important as the Second Amendment, because you're just fooling yourself. Because if you lose your guns, sure, that would be bad. That you don't want the government oppression that way. But if you lose your voice, that's something. That's much worse. And that's how you get 1984. Yeah. Is how, you know, what do they call that? The not double speak, the where it's like you say stuff that's, I don't know, I can't remember. All I remember about
I forget it too. I forget it too. Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
I just remember him sticking his head in the cage full of rats, and I was like, yeah, okay. That's, forget all the oppression and stuff that the rats. I'm just gonna say, yeah. Despite all my rage, I'm still just the rat in the cage. to quote music group, the Smashing Pumpkins. Meanwhile, the Pentagon says, you know what, we're going to take over the press ourselves. What?
This is really disturbing, Uncle Warren.
Right, and I had no idea that that Stars and Stripes was editorially independent. So why is the Pentagon taking over the military's independent newspaper? Stars and Stripes is the official newspaper of the U.S. Department of Defense, but it has always made independent editorial decisions until now. The Defense Department has announced that Stars and Stripes will now be under the control of the Pentagon, which plans to move the newspaper's coverage away from what it calls woke distractions or the truth. Many critics say this is just the latest in Trump's crackdown on press freedoms. So the Defense Department will be returning Stars and Stripes to its original mission, reporting for our war fighters, said Pentagon spokesperson
War fighters, no longer service members, war fighters.
You're not serving your country, you're serving empire. So that's according to Sean Parnell, the spokesperson for the Pentagon. In a statement on the tweeters, the Pentagon is going to, quote, refocus its content away from woke distractions that siphon morale and adapt it to serve a new generation of service members. In other words, we can't be telling our troops the truth. We have to keep brainwashing them, and we'll get some people in that'll do that. So Stars and Stripes will now highlight war fighting, weapon systems, fitness, lethality. That's a fun word. And survivability. It will also no longer publish newswire reports from outlets like the AP, according to Parnell. So basically, it's just going to become a propaganda rag for the military. This marks a significant shift for Stars and Stripes, which was first published during the Civil War and has been editorially independent from Defense Department officials since a congressional mandate in the 90s, according to The Hill. But the change follows the Trump administration's restrictions on Pentagon journalists, most of whom have chosen to give up working from the building rather than sign on to new constricting rules imposed by Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth. The news also comes after the Washington Post reported that applicants to Stars and Stripes are being asked how they would support the president's policy priorities, the PPP. Yeah, I had no idea that they were independently, editorially independent. And it's sad to see that that's going away too. Does woke equal truth in this case?
Well, I think that's just an excuse. I think that that they're using that to appeal to to Trump's base. So, for example, also just they've pointed out there has been a new Federal Register rule that has struck down previous policy regarding Stars and Stripes business operations, including a requirement for a civilian editor and an independent ombudsman. And the journalistic ombudsman have been on the way out for a while now. There's only a handful of media organizations left that have an ombudsman. And as I've talked about before, the ombudsman's role is very important because that is an independent individual. It's an independent channel. The office of the ombudsman is an independent channel within the organization. The ombudsman answers either to the publisher or to the board of directors. They bypass the editors, the writers, and everybody else. They answer way up at the top. And it's their job to take on complaints from consumers, from readers, to find out, okay, was this reported correctly? Was this inaccurate? What's going on here? And it's a very important role. It has really disappeared, I think, and over the last few decades, and I think that's been to the detriment of the media in general. But we see here what's happened with this military newspaper, which has a long and proud history in the U.S. And to see what is going on, it's not surprising, but it is disturbing, and I wanted people to know about it.
Yeah, and I think this is like for for people who are trying to control the narrative and control the flow of information. This is just one finger in one leak in the dam, right?
Mm-hmm.
Where because when you there have been videos that have gone around where recruits, right, when they're in boot camp, and they'll have their phone and they'll go around to their buddies in the barracks there and say, "Hey, what did your recruiter tell you?" "Oh, they told me blah 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 blah," and everybody starts laughing because they know it was all bullshit. And so these troops are already being lied to by the recruiters, and God forbid they'd have an actual military press that's looking out for them. That's not looking out for them anymore. It's more looking out for the image of the military itself, because the military is doing some heinous shit around the world. And that's just the things that we know about, right?
Yeah.
God knows what's going on at these black ops sites around the world. And, you know, that's come to light with these prisons like Abu Ghraib and the one down in Cuba too. All these abuses going on. You're not going to get that information a lot of times unless you have some sort of military in some way on the inside that's willing to whistleblow on that kind of stuff. And when you take away stars and stripes, like they said, it's been around since the Civil War, and you neuter it, you know, what does that say about the military itself?
Yeah, exactly. So Stars and Stripes, RIP.
Yeah, it was a good run.
Yeah.
And now you're basically weekly world news for the military. Speaking of clown stuff.
Oh yeah, this happened down where I'm at.
That's right. This is some local flavor.
I heard about
for you.
it. I nearly hit the ceiling, and then we found out what happened, but it caused quite a kerfuffle on social media.
So Bentonville, that's Arkansas. Bentonville schools debunk ice field trip rumors after mix-up. Oopsie sauce. Yeah, just a little bigger. Okay. So Bentonville Public Schools officials clarified Saturday that students did not tour an ice facility this week, despite online claims that they had taken a field trip there. In a Saturday email to district employees, students, and families obtained by I'm assuming the email was obtained by Axios. That was poorly written. It sounds like the students and families were obtained by Axios. Superintendent Debbie Jones said the mix-up occurred when a bus briefly took gifted and talented students to the wrong building before transporting them to the intended destination, a Homeland Security Investigations office in Fayetteville. It was for forensics education, she said. The students were in 4th grade, according to district spokesperson Leslie Wright. At no time did students witness any aspect of ICE operations, nor did they tour the site, according to the email. The Department of Homeland Security and ICE offices in Fayetteville are listed at the same address on North Point Circle. When Axios asked Wright to clarify which buildings the students were taken to, she said the bus arrived at the building at that address, was told they were at the wrong location, and to follow a vehicle to the correct location. The bus could not find that vehicle and returned to the initial location. From there, a Department of Homeland Security agent guided the bus to the correct place on North Plainview Avenue in Fayetteville, where the students went on the tour, according to Wright. Homeland Security investigations agents conduct fingerprint analysis, digital forensics, and evidence collections, according to Jones's email. Students receive opportunities to learn about sophisticated techniques, including thermal imaging cameras, audio wires, and night vision goggles, she said. Did they teach them how to capture people's data and all their information from their phones, like that contraption we were talking about earlier?
Yeah, that's an interesting question. Yeah, this whole thing caused a kerfuffle. And look, I understand that students have made this trip before, and I can understand that the kids want to see, this kind of technology. It's interesting. It's fun. I remember back before 9/11, I mean, this was way back, actually, I want to say in the 1980s, I got a chance to head on up to Washington, D.C., got to tour the FBI building, and it was really interesting. Don't get me wrong. It was actually very interesting. And I'm all about the kids seeing this. But in addition to this colossal mess up, where I'm saying this is the clownfish school, I mean, okay, there was a problem with directions, but here's the thing. Is this really the time to be taking kids to the Department of Homeland Security when you are in a very diverse community? Bentonville down here, this is headquarters for some pretty major multinational companies in Northwest Arkansas. And I'm not going to name names, but everybody knows who they are. And the thing is, they've got people coming in from all over the world to work for these multinational companies, these important companies. Their children are from other countries. We've also got a significant Mexican population here. In fact, one of the things people don't know about that in kind of the Mississippi Delta, but also in the Ozarks, what you will see is tamales are big here. They're particularly big at Doe's Eat Place. It's a chain of steakhouses, and they serve tamales. It's a regional thing. And do you really think that it was a wise idea in this current climate to be taking these children to the Department of Homeland Security offices? I mean, this was not well thought through at all. And I hate that I have to think this way, but guess what? I do. We all do.
Well, it's it could be this could be taken one of two ways. Like you say, it could be like, showing these kids like this technology and stuff, but at the same time too, it could also be some I'm not saying that it is, but it could be interpreted as a form of indoctrination for children to get used to the idea that ICE and Homeland Security can do these kind of things. Teach them young that it's okay to spy on people and to get into their business and stuff. And like, are there legitimate uses for some of this technology to catch like actual criminals that are doing harm to the people? Sure, but you compare that to the amount of surveillance that's going on now with everyday citizens. It just seems like it just seems to me just kind of like the same thing as having the National Guard in people's cities. They want them to get used to those optics, and they want them to get used to, this is the way it is, you might as well learn about it kind of situation. I could be wrong. I'm very, I'm kind of, negative about a lot of that stuff these days, because I always feel there's some sort of nefarious thing that they're trying to achieve, especially with children. And it's terrible in that respect. To do, and the timing is just incredibly ridiculous too. Why would you do that with these kids, right? Show them this kind of stuff.
Somebody was not thinking at all, and it's kind of spun out of control as being even more absurd. The fact that they were sending out emails on a Saturday morning indicates just the kind of kerfuffle that ensued. Come on, folks.
Right. So if you're parents to these children, and they're telling you, yeah, we're going to take them to see the Department of Homeland Security, it's kind of know what you're getting yourself into there. So finally, I always say finally because it's Finn, because we love to play on words. It turns out, if you go to Ireland, you can catch a bad case of the crabs. Did you know that?
Got to be careful, Uncle Warren.
Not even Irish
watch
Spring
where where you launch your pole.
Not even Irish Spring is going to get them off. So a truck crash released 15,000 live crabs next to the road. And they are here. If we can kind of... Oh my goodness! Crabs. Yeah. So basically the crab. A recovery crew was summoned to an Irish road when a truck carrying up to 15,000 crabs crashed into a ditch and set the crustaceans free. The McLaughlin transport truck was carrying a load of crabs caught in the Inishowen to restaurants and stores in Portugal when it wound up in the ditch at the side of the R238 road in Carrickmacquigley, Redcastle, County Donegal. and a fine fresh scent. The driver was not injured, but the crash caused up to 15,000 crabs, approximately $70,000 worth of seafood to be spilled out of their aluminum containers. Crews from Burnfoot-based McLaughlin's Light and Heavy Recovery Services were brought in to clear the wreckage and round up the crabs. It was a very unusual scene, to say the least. When we arrived, that a lot of the crabs had spilled out of their containers and were making a bid for freedom into the fields. Company owner, you like the Irish accent there, Adrian McLaughlin told RTE, he could be Scottish, I don't know. A team of up to 10 of us had to physically retrieve the crabs and put them into large bags and reload them onto the truck. It took a good few hours to fill the bags. The crane was also brought to the scene to lift the truck and trailer upright. McLaughlin estimates about 95% of the crabs were recovered during the 18-hour recovery effort. But don't worry, that other 5%, just put some salve on there, a little ointment, maybe brush it out a little bit. You'll be fine. So I don't know. I've never had crabs, especially 15,000 of them. That
were worth 70 grand. I mean, come on, Uncle Warren, may not be too bad.
I know, right? Just
Uncle Warren's crab house.
You want I just have a plate and I'm just brushing them out. Here you go.
Potato in the corn. You're going to do a crab boil.
Oh, talk about your Lucky Charms. Woo! Ouchie, ouchie, ouchie.
So one thing I wanted to mention, Uncle Warren, we've been talking about this a little bit of housekeeping, if you don't mind for a second.
Sure. Let's
we've been noticing that people are joining us later and later into the broadcast. And some of that may just be people, that it's been up for a while. But I did want to mention we're considering moving this an hour ahead to would be 11 a.m. Central Time. That would be that would be what, 9 a.m. On the West Coast and noon on the East Coast. I've had some folks say they would be interested in that. Do let us know what you think of that. We're talking about doing it just to make this more convenient for everybody. We love doing this show. We can really appreciate your support, and we want to be on when you're available. So if you could let us know, we'd surely appreciate that. You can contact us. I'm going to put our contact information here for anybody who wants to check us out. We're going to send off our link tree.
And also, too, if you want to put down in the comments on whatever platform you're watching this on, if you want to put in the comments, yay or nay, whether you want it later or not, too, that'll help us, too. Especially those who are watching this later. And we welcome our future viewers from the past. We're trying to maximize as much of this information getting out to you as possible. And if we can get more people to watch and listen, that would be great for us, but also great for you as well. So if you could let us know, we'd really appreciate that.
And we do appreciate, we also like interacting with you too. It adds a lot to the show, and we appreciate that a lot. And we want to expand things, and we're just doing what we can to ensure that happens. So we do appreciate it.
Yeah, and as always, we thank everybody on YouTube and Rumble and Facebook and Instagram that are watching our live shows, whether it's live or later, catching the shorts that we put out, the little bite-sized versions of the show. And that's the thing. We're one of these kind of shows where we want to do more for you, because this show is for you. I mean, sure, I love seeing my pretty face on the internet.
And I love seeing you too, Uncle Warren. And I'm really curious about your crabs.
There's $70,000 worth of crab. I think mine are probably worth $250. And maybe a bucket of chicken if you're being nice. But it's the fact that we said this from the beginning. This show is news that you can use, right? We want to be able to provide you information you don't have, and of course provide you information that'll make your lives better, especially in times where it seems like the powers that be are trying to oppress us all and make us think a certain way that we don't want to think. and we cherish your individualism, your thoughts, and so all of your comments, positive or negative, we want to hear, if it's, as long as it's the truth. If that's how you feel, we can discuss things and maybe come to common ground. And but the main thing is to help people, and that's what this is all about.
That's what we're trying to do. So again, much appreciated.
Amber says my face is worth exactly $2.15. Well, time to get some crabs up. That you need to up that. Those are rookie numbers. You gotta get those up. So programming note, I believe in about an hour and change, Willie Bragg is going to be doing his show. Speaking of which, we will be on Willie's show next Tuesday evening. I'm not quite sure what the time yet, but
I'm not sure yet, but keep an eye. And we'll let you know. Yeah, we'll let you know. And we'll if you go over to YouTube, the main Undercurrent channel, we'll put up a note about when we're going to be on Willie's show.
Yes, and
we'll on socials.
We'll have a link to his channel as well on there too, so you can just click on that. You'll go right to the show that we'll be on, and while you're there, give him a like and a sub too. And you get, how about us too? We could use it too. So if you could especially our Undercurrent channel on YouTube, if you haven't subscribed there, please do so. And we also have our Substack as well with all the show notes, and so that way you can dive in yourself and see what we're talking about here. So I think that's it for now. Any final thoughts there, Lainey P?
Keep on trucking, folks. We really appreciate all of you, and we'll see you next week.
All right, that's right. Same bat time, same bat channel on Rumble, YouTube, Instagram, and Facebook. Not necessarily in that order. Wait a minute. What? For now, 11 a.m. Eastern, 8 a.m. Pacific time. Thanks again to everybody. We appreciate and love you. We'll see you next week. Peace.